Hey yo, so Jesse. Um, I'm doing my Bible reading this morning. We're doing Proverbs chapter 1, and I'm only going to read a couple verses, verse 20 through 23. Um, this section of Proverbs is a alliteration of wisdom. You know, it's written in allegory. You know, personifying wisdom. You know, I have encountered Christians that thought maybe wisdom was an angel or a spirit of God because of the personification here. I think that in certain cases you need to be careful of personification in the Bible. You know, not all personification is literal. It's not meant to be a lie or necessarily a truth. It's just a comparison in type. I'll give you an example of this. Israel is compared to being a woman and Jerusalem a bride, right? With all that comes with it, you know, and it's a thing that, like, in that particular personification, if the woman is good, well then, you know, wonderful things are written about her. But if it's bad, nasty things are written about her. And that would be Israel as a nation and Jerusalem as a city, right? That's not literal. So wisdom here, I'm going to say, is probably not a literal thing. I could try to say it is, but I don't think that would be wise. I don't think it would be provable either. So this is one of those things where, like, you know, it's a allegorical teaching written in dark sayings. It's written in things that aren't the literal, aren't completely true in the truest sense of truth, but it's meant to be symbolic, and that's what darkens it a little bit, just, you know, just a touch, you know. And it's not like, you know, we should understand that going into it. So I'm going to read verses 20 through 23, and we're going to talk about it a little bit, because even though it's like a plea for the stupid to learn, basically, that's exactly what it is. It's an allegorical plea for the stupid to learn and for the troublemakers to stop and to listen. And had it been written in rebuke form, it would very much offend people. But because it's written in poetic form, in symbolic form, and it's like, hey, listen to me. I'm here. I want you to learn. You know, like that. And because it, you know, like, very much, like, more than likely to the Jew of the time or to the young person, it's a more reasonable appeal to their abilities to understand. You know, like, nobody really likes somebody saying, hey, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're a troublemaker. Sit down and learn about life. Like, that doesn't come across very well. And that's the whole reason this is written in symbolic allegory. And I think that it's a thing that's like, yeah, we need to pay attention, because somebody took the time to think about how we, many generations later, and very much less wise, would respond to what they're saying. Okay. Is that mental manipulation? Sure it is. Humans do that all the time. But is it good for us? Yeah. Okay. So verse 20. Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse. In the opening of the gates in the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning. And fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Okay. All right. So let's do the verse by verse. Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. Now, I grew up in a bad neighborhood. I know what that's like. And I know a lot of mixed communities and poor white communities that have rough areas, right? And if you grow up in a rough area, just living there and learning how to behave around dangerous people will teach you wisdom, okay? That's what we call streetwise. And it is a form of wisdom. It is not stupid. It's not something that anybody should be ashamed of. Because that really is, like, what you see in bad areas is you see bad people ruining other bad people or ruining good people and delighting in it, or suffering horribly and miserably because of something. And you learn, well, hey, it's not safe to go out at night. So what do? Well, if you got any brain cells in your head, you don't go out at night. You learn that, well, I can't leave anything in the yard because somebody's going to steal it. Well, what do? Well, keep it under lock and key if it's important to you, and you learn things like, oh, well, there's folks selling drugs out there and selling sex, and both of them things can kill people, because one ruins your life and your health, and the other one gives you an STD that's deadly, that's going to make you suffer for a long time before you die, right? And so you learn these things about human life that's like, whoa. Or you see the young girl that's too stupid go out in the street and become a prostitute, and she has a couple babies and then gets a couple abortions, and after a while she's not the same person that she used to be. Not mentally, not physically, not emotionally. And you watch a person just kind of self-destruct and turn herself into a train wreck. It's like, whoa. Yeah, that teaches wisdom. It teaches you, well, if you want to get out of here, you save your money. If you want to be intelligent, you save your money and you go to school. And if you're smart and you don't tell anybody you don't have any money, they won't steal it because they don't know you got it, And things of that nature. It's like, all right, well, that's a hard lesson to learn in the streets. But those lessons are important. You know, you learn how to talk to somebody so that you don't set somebody unstable off. You learn how to be polite. You learn how to tell them, well, hey, man, I know you got needs, but I got needs too. Don't come over here and mess my stuff up. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem. And they learn, because somebody's pointed a gun in their face or beat the crap out of them before, that, oh, well, okay, I'll leave you alone. You seem like a good person, you know. And sometimes the only thing you got to do to keep a crackhead from stealing from you is feed him once in a while. Or just talk to him like an ordinary person, you know. You don't got to be mean and yell and swear at somebody that's got problems or that creates problems for themselves. If you're polite and you just tell them, hey, I'm a Christian. If you ask, well, as long as I don't think you're going to hurt yourself, I'll give you what you need. You know, like, that goes a long way in a lot of these bad areas. And over time, that example can change an area. Doesn't mean it will change it right away. It could take 10 or 20 years. You know, because what happens with bad folks is, sadly enough, they get arrested for long amounts of time, years. It goes from months to years to lifetime. Because a lot of times in these areas, they'll shoot each other or knife each other, and then they're in the pen for a long time. You know, especially if they murdered somebody, they'll be gone for 10 years or something, 20 years. And when they get out, they might not go back to the same area because they don't want to get in trouble again, right? Because you get in trouble like that, you're like, well, that was a bad area, I better go somewhere else. And then, you know, or if they're dealing drugs or what have you. So there's that. And then you got the ones that die because of the drugs or the STDs or violence or whatever. And over time, that area can shift from really bad to normal. You know, it might not be super good, but it's more normal. But that takes law enforcement effort, and it takes, you know, the human beings that are there, working with the law enforcement and making it happen. Okay. That is the kind of area that I grew up in. I don't know that area has gotten better because I haven't lived there. I moved away and I never went back, and I don't want to go back. But I've driven by it, and you know, there's more gardens out in the yard. And generally, if folks are taking care of their yards, the crime rate is a little bit lower because it takes a conscientious, careful person to raise plants. You can't have a bunch of crazy folks walking around with sticks, just swinging them at everything, walking all over their yard and stealing stuff, and you know, have gardens at the same time, you know. So those two things don't work out very well. And let me tell you, in a sure enough hood, there is no respect for property. If you own land, property lines are ignored. So be careful, and that's the kind of area that teaches wisdom. Now, in a nicer neighborhood, you might be able to learn some wisdom, but I don't have that experience. I don't know what kind of wisdom comes from living in a nice neighborhood. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I've traveled this country a bunch and lived in a bunch of different RV parks and stuff like that. And the only thing that I've noticed is that, well, you don't have to worry so much if you lock things up if you're in a nice area. You don't have to worry about your kids, and that's nice. It's nice to have help raising your children, you know. But if you're in a bad area, yeah, keep an eye on everything, even the children. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, and the opening of the gates of the city she uttereth her words, saying. Okay, the chief place of concourse. In the old days, that would be like the main street, the main place of business in the city. Okay, and what you see in business centers, you see people buying and selling. You see them making business deals. You watch folks get ripped off horribly. You watch thieves do the thieving. You can watch if a person is diligent in their business and very apt to work hard. You can watch a person work themselves to death for a little bit of money. Or you can watch somebody work and be diligent and charge appropriately. And so there's a lot of different business dealings that can, a lot of different wisdom that can be learned from business dealings. And in the opening of the gates of the city in the Middle East, in the old days, I don't know if it's true now. I suppose in some places it may be. But it used to be that a lot of the older folks would sit at the gate of the city and watch everybody coming and going. And that was a place of judgment. That was where justice was mete out, and they would judge according to whether or not a person would be stoned or whipped or what have you, right there at the gates of the city where everybody could watch. And so it was kind of like you got some old farts sitting out there talking politics and talking about what's going on and handling the problems of the city. And if you stood there long enough, you'd see bad people get punished, And you would watch the upstanding folks in that area make marriage agreements and things of that nature, things of a high political and social order, of good social order, things that would teach you justice, judgment, and equity were often found in the gates of the cities, because that was their judiciary back then. That was where the folks that may not have the label but were the mayor of the city did business at that time. Okay. Verse 22. How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? How do you call a person dumb without saying they're dumb? Okay, that's what he's doing there. If you say a person is simple, you're saying that they're either uneducated, they're not very thoughtful, or there's something wrong with them that they can't think right. Okay? Now, in our culture today, that would be considered like a deep insult. Oh, you're calling me stupid or whatever. He's using a phrase, a questioning phrase that asks somebody that's not intelligent or not thoughtful to think and to use their mind. Okay? And it's not done in an insulting way. It's like, all right, well, how long are you going to love not thinking deeply, not learning? And should you, should you like being ignorant? Should you like being dumb? The reasonable answer to that is no. No, you shouldn't. That's not to say that intelligence is the answer to everything, because intelligent folks have intelligent problems, and oftentimes the higher IQ you have, the more susceptible you are to mental health disorders. So this is not about loving intelligence. It's about learning about the complexity of life. Okay? You don't have to think fast to think wise, right? You don't have to think at high speeds to think in a stable way. And and what I have found in life is intelligent folks do stupidly intelligent problems. I'm capable of that. I've done that a number of times to my own self. It's the human proclivity to self-destruction. It's not a thing that we necessarily want to do, but we do. And because the mind works faster, then that means you can get yourself into a problem quicker. I have met a number of folks that I thought were like, boy, he ain't very bright. But the way they conducted themselves in business and in life, and the consistency they were able to apply themselves to their work, got them much further ahead in life than where I am now. And I can tell you where I'm at, right? I'm separated from my wife. I don't get to see my kids. I'm living in a van down by the river. Not very fun. And, I've got property. It's paid off, but I don't have a building on it. I don't have retirement. And I don't have savings because I had to cash it out because, the last few years for me has been bad economically and I haven't been able to get a job. And it's not that I don't want to work because I've been working for myself in my own yard, cleaning things up. And, for a while there, I was holding a sign on a street because that's what I had to do. Sometimes you do what you have to, even if you don't like it, and so I've been going through a set of problems that have been wearing my pride completely off. I have no pride anymore. I will do whatever it takes to make whatever I need to make happen. And, it's not to say I don't have any morals anymore, but when you're in a bad way, you should ask for help. When you need money, you need to ask for it. Even if you can work, if nobody's offering the work, then you need to do what you have to do. Okay, so having said that, comparing my life and my problems to somebody that, maybe doesn't think as fast but can stay on task, that gets up every morning and goes outside and works because they know that their body needs it, and they don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just do, So that's a thing that's like, all right, well, if we spend too much time thinking on things, well, that can be the opposite problem of simplicity. So, what I'm saying is, just because you're maybe not super high IQ, it doesn't mean that you love simplicity, right? Learn the guiding principles of life, the wisdom of life, apply it to your life, and stay on task with it. That's how you get ahead in life. Okay. All right. Enough with that one. And the scorner delight in their scorning. And this is also in question form. And the scorner delight in their scorning, and the fools hate knowledge. Okay. All right. So the scorn is a thing, like, I've known some very intelligent folks to just enjoy destroying other people's self-esteem, and this kind of like comes, it kind of like, how can I say this? Oftentimes it'll be around a person that is like drinks a lot, or drugs, or parties, or whatever, maybe does drugs, and like they're really smart, but their life is just like an absolute wreck. And they just like tearing people apart, and they like saying, "Oh, well, this guy's stupid," or "Well, look at what stupid thing you did," you know, or whatever. I'm not that kind of person, so I have a hard time even like uh, impersonating it. Like I'm just not like that. I think folks ought to do good for themselves, and when they screw up, you ought to be like, "Well, man, here's what you can do to do better, and if you don't want to, well, but I'm not going to sit there and like tear you apart because you did, you accidentally spilled some water on the countertop or something." You're like, "No, we're not." Yeah, okay, yeah, just clean the mess up and move on, right? So the scorn thing there is like, that's a personal problem. If you're so focused on like calling other people out for their stupid little human mistakes or stupid little human tricks or for their accidents, that you can't even focus on your own life to fix your own life. Like fix your drinking problems, fix the fact that you're working for $14 an hour or $12 an hour or something instead of going to college. You like fix your problems, fix your wardrobe. Quit looking like a ratty old bum if you're smart enough to come up with witty, scornful things to say about somebody. Use your brain power for something better. Like there and like a person that is really scornful is a they're a waste of breathing space, in my opinion. Because they're using all their intelligence to make fun of somebody else's problems, when just a little bit of that effort could change their life in a very good way. And so, yeah, I just don't have very much love for a person like that. One, because it's irritating, but mostly because like they could have been something much better than what they are, and they, in their infinite scornful wisdom, chose to tear other people apart emotionally and intellectually instead of doing something good with themselves. Yeah, that's how I feel about that. And how long will they delight in their scorning until they just wake up and are like, "Oh, I should be doing something better with myself. And if I do, and if I concentrate on that, I can do something better with myself. Raise a nice family, have kids, like love your kids. Don't tear them apart like you do your associates. Because a scorner doesn't have friends." Like, there's people that hang out with them because they think they're funny, but that's not really like a friend, So, just consider that. And fools hate knowledge. All right, so what's a fool? A fool is a person that does unintelligent, stupid things to themselves. Kind of made me feel bad when I said that. And hating knowledge is like, it's like when you go to school as a kid and there's a kid that just hates school. Like, it's hating knowledge. It's foolish. But it's worse if you're an adult and you're still like that. Now, I will say, what we do for a living and how we make a living is a choice. If you want to do something complex for a living, well, fine. If you want to do something simple for a living, that's okay too. Just make sure that whatever you're doing, whatever trade that you're in, you retain the knowledge of that trade to keep yourself in business, right? Because oftentimes what you find is a foolish person is somebody that operates in business but keeps making the same bad mistakes over and over and over again. It's like the person that knows they have relationship problems but keeps going to the bar after work with their buddies. Instead of paying attention to their wife or their girlfriend or whatever. It's the young kid that gets too many tickets, almost to the point they can't drive, but then still wants to drive fast in rush hour traffic. You have the knowledge you need to do what's right, but you hate that knowledge because you're not willing to live by it. Okay? The hatred of knowledge comes in the way we live our life. It's not that you don't have it. It's that you hate what you have. You don't want to listen to the knowledge that you have. And that's a very human problem. Proverbs also says foolishness is bound in the heart of a child, right? So we know kids kind of tend to be like that. As you grow older, you should grow out of it. And as the kids grow older, we as adults ought to be teaching our kids out of it. However, sometimes a person just won't learn. They won't learn that, hey, knowledge is valuable. Live by the knowledge that you have. If you find out that the knowledge that you have is bad, go find better knowledge. Right? So, and then, I'll give you an example. Of course, this always comes up in atheist versus God arguments. It's like, the atheists are like, well, your Bible says we're fools. Well, okay. I'm going to explain this a little bit. So, and this comes from recent arguments, texts back and forth between myself and a few other folks. We have really large scientific measurements based on how far light can travel as to the size of the known universe that we can take pictures of at this point in time. Okay? Now, I can try to use this measurement to say the universe is infinite. On the other hand, on the atheist side, they'll say, well, that measurement's not good enough. Okay. At what point does this really, really, really big measurement become enough to substantiate infinity, right? So it's a moving barrier argument. Like, it doesn't matter what my measurement is. They will always say, well, that's not enough because we don't have a measurement. Like, okay. So what I'm saying is, like, to say an argument like that, it's a hate for the knowledge of a measurement. In all honesty, at what point in time can you say that measurement is enough, right? So sometimes by inference, we need to go, okay, well, this measurement and that measurement's pretty big, and this other measurement's pretty big. Let's multiply them. Whoa, that's a really, really big measurement, And then, like, as far as we can tell, time is also infinite. So like, it only takes one infinity to make an infinite argument. And in the is there a God or is there not argument, you've got height, width, depth of the universe, time past, time future. That's 5 different infinities. Okay? All it takes to substantiate is one of them. So, from a perspective of hating knowledge, like, this is something that we have knowledge of. And if a person chooses to argue against a God, well, I mean, is it hate of knowledge? Because not only is it hating just average measurement knowledge, hating the things that we've already more or less been able to substantiate. They know that time is infinite in the past because the theory of the Big Bang says that time compressed and then re-expanded again. Like there was time before the Big Bang, it compressed, and then it re-expanded afterwards. So we know that time, at least in Big Bang theory, is infinite. And then in creation theory, it's also infinite past, infinite future. So like there's things that are like, all right, well, using the wrong arguments there, buddy. And then to hate their own knowledge, you say, well, if there's infinite time in the past and in the future, well, eventually evolution itself would create a godlike being. Like, that's not unreasonable thing to say in the realm of philosophy. Now, do I believe in evolution? I believe in created kinds, and I believe in the flexibility of proteins. If a person wants to define some of that as evolution based on their personal philosophy, fine, whatever, So my perspective on that is like, even if you present their own arguments to them, all of a sudden they'll turn and start hating their own knowledge. It's fantastically amazing. Like I don't understand why the human psyche does that, but certain folks are like that. It's also somewhat like, the LGBTQ community in how they deny the scientific genders that humans have. And it's not a thing that's possible. Like there's only 2 human genders, and every now and then an anomaly is born because the DNA is messed up, and ordinarily that gets straightened out based on whatever body parts that they have that can be used for procreation, and a lot of times they're born sterile. So that's that. So there's not these huge amounts of genders. There's just 2, and folks that are born sterile, and that's basically genderless. So this is a thing that we're like, that type of community has began to hate our knowledge of human psychology. It hates our basic biology. It hates anybody that tells them, hey, your make-believe story isn't reality. And that is hating knowledge. That is what a fool is. So if the shoe fits, wear it, but don't put on the opposite sex's shoes. Verse 23, turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you. I will make known my words unto you. Okay. It's not always easy to hear the rebuke of wisdom and change. Sometimes you have to take time to be upset with yourself or to be upset with the situation and say, okay, I heard the reproof. I'm going to just try to stop doing the stupid stuff for a while, and then I'm going to try to turn and be different. And it doesn't say that turn has to be fast. It's better if it is. It's much better if it is. But as long as the change is consistent towards turning at the reproof, then the spirit of wisdom will be upon you. What does that mean, spirit? It could mean Yahweh's eternal spirit, Yahweh and his eternal spirit. It could be just the spirit of good choices in your life. In that you have an ideology, a mental structure of good choices in your mind. But what this says is, once you turn toward wisdom, away from stupidity and simplicity and scorning and the hate of knowledge, then the door to good choices is open. Wisdom in personification says, I will make known my words unto you. Once you start making good choices, even better choices and better understanding will come to you as you learn and as you grow. It's a growing experience. So the thing about it is like, yeah, just consider that. Because like, I have tried to open that door to good choices. And what I found is that sometimes the wisdom of God gets so complicated, you end up doing things that absolutely like look stupid. Like the way I live my life is stupid, right? It seems like that. But if you consider that I had mental problems, I have physical problems, I've tried to search for the good things in my life, I learned that because of the things going on with me and in my life, that I need to be separated from my wife so that bad things don't happen. Okay, well, maybe that wasn't a good choice. Maybe it wasn't a good choice to get married to her to begin with. But, I tried to make the wisest choice that I could. And that's the important thing, is like, you might find in your life that maybe you don't really like living the way you are, even after making choices that you thought were wise at the time. And that's a valid thing, it's like, maybe you're one of those people that live in a very beautiful part of the country. But, and you own like a lot of land or something like that. Let's say that. If a developer comes in and wants to pay you a ton of money for your land, you have a choice. Is it wiser to keep what you have and just love the way that you're living then and stay poor? Or is it wiser to sell what you have to the developer and live rich, but watch a beautiful area of the country be destroyed, right? Like, now, with that choice comes a third option. Well, I could take this property that I have and do what the developer's doing, but try to find wise individuals that will live in that place with me and do things in a wise way. Problem is you can't always tell who is wise and who's not. Right? So there's always more than one option in a scenario like that. So just consider that, like, whatever you're doing, however you're living, make the wisest choices that you can for the time that you're living in. And know that all human beings are limited by both time and opportunity and health, and mental health. So you've got, some folks, you're limited by what you can think. You're limited by the choices that are available, the opportunities that are available. You're limited by the time that you have in life. Okay? And you're limited by your surroundings. If what surrounds you is destructive, then, well, it's very hard to be constructive in that type of environment. So yeah, just consider these things. And I know I said a lot of things that modern folks probably disagree with, but if you're a Bible student, glad you kept listening. All right, y'all. You have a wonderful day, evening, whatever time of day it is. If you like what I had to say, give it the old thumbs up and subscribe. And subscribe. And have a good afternoon or whatever time it is with, over at y'all's place. And, leave some comments, and give what I've had to say some consideration. All right. Have a good one.